Hey guys, how's it going? This is Mike from M&R Automotive. Today we have a brand new 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser, and we're going to be installing either one or two 30-inch light bars. So first thing we have to do in order to install the light bar is remove the front end. I'm going to go ahead and start that by removing the top cover. So you got to press down on them in order for them to release and pop up. All I got to do is grab a screwdriver, press down on it, and then take them out. So now we're going to remove these three 10mm bolts. So next thing we have to remove this fender flare. I'm going to try to get away without removing the whole thing. I'm just going to remove this clip so that way we can pop open the bumper and the fender. So there's a 10mm bolt here. Alright, so I took out this 10mm screw, and now there's a couple of push pins that I want to take out as well, and that'll free up the bumper. So I'm going to pop this one up. I'm going to pop this one up. So there's also supposed to be one on the bottom on this vehicle. It didn't have it, but if yours does, you're probably going to have to remove this as well. So now when we peel back this fender flare, there's a couple of clips on the inside. I see there's one red one here. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my trim removal tool. And I'm going to pop that open. And this comes out. And I think there's one more that I saw here, which is gray. And we're going to pop this one open as well. I think this should give us everything we need in order to free up the bumper. Cool, let's do the same thing on the passenger side. Alright, so we're going to take this screw out. Let's take out this push pin here. We're going to take out one above here. And once again, this one didn't have the clip, but if yours does, you probably want to remove it as well. Alright, now I'm going to peel back this fender flare. There's supposed to be two clips here. There's one with a red. Let's see it. Okay, got that one. And then there's one more here. Okay, so we peeled this off, expose us a couple of extra bolts. So now I'm going to take out this screw here, and then I'm going to go across this plastic trim and take out all the screws until I get to the corner on the driver's side. There's a push pin here. I'm going to start taking off all these bolts on the bottom. There's a couple of push pins in here as well that we're removing. Alright, it's all freeing up. Push pin. There's a couple of bolts that we're going to take off as well. I do recommend take notes, maybe take a picture of what bolt goes if you're not familiar with how to put it back together, so that way you're not guessing what bolt is going where. So now this brings us all the way around. There's a push pin here, and there's one push pin and one screw, and that should free everything up. Now that you got all the screws and clips all around the grill, let's see if we can pop this off. And kind of like pull on it. Let's see if you can unclip everything. There we go. Alright, so we got everything here. Now we can hop on the other side, grab it by the bottom, by the sides, and kind of tug on it to unclip the rest. There it is. So as you remove the grill, there's a harness here which attaches all the fog lights and the sensors. So you want to reach in here. There's a gray lever right there. Take this one out too to remove some of the slack. Now there's a clip on the bottom. If you want to just press on it, you should be able to move this up and the harness comes off. So now that we have the front end off, follow along if you're going to install one or two 30-inch slim light bars. We're going to be using the same brackets for both. The brackets have a slotted system, so you can move the light bars up and down based on how you like them to look inside the grill. So let's go over what you get with the M&R kit. Driver and a passenger side bracket, 30-inch light bar, and you get the mounting hardware. So let me show you how to install the brackets and then put the light bar on them. So here are the brackets. Notice that the flaps, the rails where you're installing the light bar, they're on the outside of the bracket and they're going to install like this. So this would be the driver's side and this would be the passenger. So the bolts that we're going to be using to mount the M&R brackets are going to be these right here. 1, 2, and we're going to use a 17mm socket in order to remove them. We're going to remove this factory 17mm bolt. We're going to slide it through the M&R mount, and we're going to rethread it back into the original spot. So I'm not going to tighten it all the way, I'm just going to finger tighten it. I like to tighten this bolt last after I get the light bar and tighten these side bolts. So let's do the same thing on the passenger side. I'm going to remove that bolt, slide it through the eyelid of the M&R bracket, and reinstall it. So now that you have these brackets finger tightened, now we're going to install either 1 or 2 light bars onto the M&R bracket. Let's start with the first one. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the 30-inch light bar, and I'm going to use the supplied hardware to thread the bolt through the eyelid of the bracket into the light bar. So you do have adjustability of the positioning of the light bar. So you can use this rail and tighten it. If you want it on the bottom of the grille of the bumper, you just tighten it on the bottom, or you can slide it up and down. What I recommend is after you install it, put that front fascia, clip it back on, especially on top, just to kind of make sure to see where it lines up with the opening. That's on. So we have installed our light bar on the lowest position of the rail, and that aligns with the bottom section of this opening. If you prefer the middle or the top, you would just have to reinstall the light bar and retighten the bolts on a different location of that rail. So now that we like the position of this light bar, we're going to go ahead and remove the front end again. I got to tighten those bolts in the back and rerun the wiring in the engine bay. So now we're just tightening the back bolts that are holding the M&R bracket. As far as the wire, we're going to go ahead and thread it behind here and into the engine bay, right behind the headlight. So let me show you what I did. Just open here. Okay. And we can go on the side here, next to the headlight. Just move it here. And you can actually feed it underneath here. Alright, so plenty of wire. Okay, so now that we've installed one light bar, let me show you how to add a second one to the same setup. So I'm going to grab the same light bar, I'm going to sit it right on top. I'm going to thread the side bolts. So if you like this look of 2 light bars, one stacked right on top of another, great. Or you can actually adjust the light bar on the rail to create some separation for a different look. So I like this location of the light bar. So when I'm tightening the side bolts of the light bar, I'm going to tighten them in this position. Let's put the grille back on and see how it looks. Alright, now that I like the alignment of the light bar, let's go ahead and tighten the bolts and run the wiring. So I'm going to go ahead and run this wire right next to in the same way that we did the first one. So now that we've got the wiring in the engine bay, let's go over the wiring, and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to power it. Because the Land Cruiser does not come with factory auxiliary switches, we're going to actually connect all of our light bars to the M&R wireless wiring harness 1.0. It can be seen on our website, but I want to kind of go over what colors and the schematics of the wiring. If you purchase a single function light bar, meaning that it only has one function, either white or amber light, you're going to get 2 wires. You're going to get a red wire, which is the positive, and you're going to get a black wire, which is the ground. If you're purchasing a dual function light bar, you actually going to get 3 wires. Dual function means that it has powerful white light, but it also has Amber DRL backglow. So the backglow function, that's going to be the 3rd wire. You get the red and the black, just like the single function, except you have an additional wire that's going to power the Amber DRL. So typically from the factory, it either comes in a color of either blue or white. Keep in mind that you're going to need 2 power sources for the dual function light bars. You're going to need 1 switch for the powerful white light, which is red, and 1 switch for that DRL function. Let me show you how to assemble the M&R wireless wiring harness, and then we're going to come back into the engine bay, and I'm going to show you how to connect it to the battery. So we're just going to take off the top from the control panel, and then I am going to show you where everything goes. So there's 4 Phillips screws, 2 on each side. So once we loosen the 4 Phillips screws, we can take off the cover, and I want to go over what's inside. So in the fuse box, everything is nicely insulated. It has epoxy for all the circuits. You do get all the fuses with different amperage ratings. You have 230s, 220s, 210s, and 25s. There's a sticker here where it says plus. This is where we're going to connect it to the battery. So there's going to be a positive lead going here, and this is going to be the ground. So it's as simple as that. Connect 2 cables that go to the battery and the chassis, and then you just connect all your accessories to it. So let's go back in the engine bay and I'm going to show you how to install this. So once we take off the cover to the main fuse box, we also have to take off a secondary cover here. There's 2 latches on this cover. There's one in the front and one in the back here. And the way to remove it, there's a tab that you have to pry going towards the back of the vehicle. So I'm going to stick my screwdriver here, pry this tab. Then the next pin, it's right behind. Okay, so now I'm going to pry this tab going backwards as well. I'm going to pull up on this cover. And now, since it released, we can take this cover off. So this exposes us with a 12 volt constant power. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect the main power wire. And one thing I want to do before I do that, I want to disengage this fuse. So that way, when we're connecting it, there is no power on that end of the wire. So I'm going to take the cover off and I'm going to press this reset button. So when this thing kicks out from being in line, now if this end is connected, there is no power going through the rest because it's disconnected here. I'm going to put this aside, and what I want to do, I want to slide this on this bolt. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and not completely remove this nut, but I'm just going to loosen it just enough so that way I can slide the terminal underneath it. And then I'm going to retighten it. So now that we have the positive wire connected to the positive terminal of the battery, I'm going to go ahead and slide this cover. You're not going to be able to lock the cover all the way because of the mold. It's only good for 1 wire. And then because we added another one, you could either make a cutout here to accommodate the new wire we added, or you could just not close it all the way. So let me show you how I'm going to have it. Alright, I'm going to have it like this, where it just won't click all the way down, but it's going to come really close. And then we can put the cover back on. Awesome. So now we have a 12 volt constant power source that we can connect to our wireless module. Now that we have the power wire connected to the positive lead on the battery, we can go ahead and slide the main power wire to the module. You can slide it under, and then we're going to connect it to the terminal that has a plus on it. So I'm going to slide it like this. I'm going to loosen this terminal. Okay, I'm going to slide the access wire back out of the module. Alright, so now that we've installed the positive onto the positive terminal of the module, we're going to do the same thing with the ground. So with the ground is going to be the black cable. I'm going to feed it through here. And this is the negative terminal. And I'm going to tighten the screw. Okay, so on the module, we now have a positive that's connected to the battery, and we have a ground cable. We have to ground it on the chassis of the vehicle. You could use any bolt that touches the frame. There's one that touches the frame through the windshield washer fluid. I want to use this one, but don't ground it on the plastic part. Make sure to go between the bolt and the washer. So I'm just going to loosen it a little bit, slide the terminal, and tighten it back up. There it is. I'm going to grab this terminal, and I'm going to slide it in between the bolt and the washer. Alright, so I'm going to slide the terminal for the ground between the washer and the bolt, and I'm going to retighten it. Alright, awesome. So now we have this module that has power and is grounded. We can connect our light bar wires to it. Alright, so I'm going to grab the first wire from the first light bar, which is the dual function. As a reminder, it needs 2 power sources. So I'm going to ground it and provide 2 power sources for the wire. So we're going to use switch number 1, which is a 30 amp fuse for our powerful white light, and switch number 2 for the Amber DRL. You could change them if you want to, but I'm just going to do it as an example. So switch number 1, positive, is going to be the red cable.
Okay, go.
Okay, so for switch number 1, we're going to connect the red wire, which is the powerful white light. loosen the terminal, slide the wire in there, and tighten it. The black wire, I'm going to ground it. So that's going to go into the negative terminal of switch number 1. So we're going to use switch number 2 to give power to the blue wire. So we're going to connect the blue wire under the positive terminal of switch number 2. So I just showed you how to wire a dual function light bar, providing two power wires to the wiring. Now I'm going to show you how to do a single function light bar, where it just has a red and a black wire. So we're going to wire that to switch number 3. I'm going to bring the wire under. And then switch number 3, I'm going to loosen the terminal. I'm going to put the red wire for the positive terminal for switch number 3 and tighten it. And then the ground is going to be the negative terminal for switch number 3. Okay, so next thing I want to do, I want to pair the remote to the module. And the way you do it, when you hit the switch to engage electricity into the module, you have to hit switch number 5 times. So that's going to be switch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the one on the bottom right. So I'm going to give it power, and within 60 seconds, you got to tap this 5 times. And then you're going to look for the LED. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This LED flashing means that it's paired. So now we can go ahead and test the lights, how we wired it. Alright, so let's test our wiring. Switch number 1, that was the powerful white light. Switch number 3, that's the powerful amber light. And then switch number 2, that was the Amber DRL. So notice the difference between the Amber DRL and the powerful amber is that this one doesn't put out much light on the road, and it doesn't blind oncoming traffic. Where opposed to the main function amber, it's a lot brighter, puts out plenty of light on the road, and is not for road use. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something. I hope it gives you confidence to do these installs on your own. Please tune in on night output videos where we show you exactly how much light these light bars put out on the road. And I know you guys are going to love the product.